Are they setting the standards that the community expects?
I think it's up to community to work out whether the standards are met. The role for police, and that's my role and all the people that work for me and my other assistant commissioner colleagues, is our job is to catch these people and put them before the courts.
But we hear that a lot of the time the courts just let them go. Do you find that frustrating when that occurs? You go to the effort of catching them, they're quite often found guilty, but because they might be, say, 16 and from a migrant background, they're let go. Is that frustrating?
No, I think if we look back in our history about how we deal with young people generally, is that we have got a philosophy is that there's a network that supports them, and they get promotion and other support, and they go back into community after they've been charged. I think with some of these young people who we see who are locked out or not connected, is that we need to rethink what happens after they're fronted before the court. There'll be some people who may ring in and say they need to go to jail for 2 or 3 or however many years.
Well, that's what I think. Because I weigh up, the right of a law-abiding person like me and my family to go about our lives versus their right, it seems, to willfully disobey our laws. And to me, it seems clear which side of the ledger, at law enforcement, police, courts, the government, on which side they have to come down.
Look, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that if young people commit offences, they have to be accountable for their behaviours. And I think from a policing point of view, we continue to hold that position. What will happen to them years down the track if they're locked up for 3 years? What happens to them then is probably a concern for me. I've been around long enough to see them come out again at the other end. We'd like to see significant change in their behaviours from whatever happened, whatever offences they commit. They need to be held accountable for that, but we need to see a change in their behaviours going forward.
What about just protecting society and sticking them behind barbed wire, high walls, whatever, and saying, well, I'm sorry, you've forfeited the right to live amongst civilised people. We've got to protect the people who do obey the laws and not worry too much about those who choose not to.
I'm sorry, it's probably simplistic in a way.
It is simplistic, I agree. It's absolutely simplistic.
Yeah. So in a simplistic world, if that was possible, if we had enough barbed wire and we had enough fences, I think we'd have lots and lots and lots and lots of people in custody. But that's not the way that we organise ourselves at the moment. But if that's the challenge you want to put out to community, then I'm listening, but we'll work our way through it.
Do you get enough support from the politicians? And I asked this because we had a caller, Andrew, before, who said he rang the police minister's office, and of course you report to the police minister directly and indirectly, Lisa Neville, and the phone answer at her office says, "I've had enough of this," and just hung up. Are we getting enough support from our politicians?
I don't know the circumstances of that call, but certainly there's been a lot of interest from politicians, and I've personally spoken to the police minister since she was appointed in regard to this issue. So she's taken the time to get around Victoria Police and talk to a lot of senior police, and particularly I spoke to her about these issues. So she's aware, and she's working through what it means for her as a new minister coming in, and certainly we're giving some advice where we can to the police minister. But we've had a resource injection that we need to see come through. So
do you have sufficient resources?
Well, we have government's announced an extra 300 police to come through for frontline policing.
But of course, they don't just appear at the drop of a hat, do they?
It takes a long time just to get them into the police academy and get them out again. So it does take some time to lead those through. In the meantime, we're reorganising our resources. So we're putting a lot more of our police on at night time, particularly late at night when these offences are happening, and we'll continue to do that. Hopefully we'll break the back of this and break the style of offending, but we have to be realistic about what we can do, what we can't.